Ever heard that old saying about turning lead into gold?
Sure, alchemy.
Yeah. Well, today we're diving into a concept called deep alchemy.
I'm
And
sorry.
it's not your typical, chemistry set kind of thing.
Okay,
No.
so not like transmuting actual metal.
No, but it's about using the heat, the heat and pressure of life, all of life's experiences
Mhm.
to transform, like really transform our being.
Whoa. Okay, that's pretty intense.
Right.
Yeah.
So our guide for this deep dive
Uh-huh.
is spiritual teacher Pedro Elias,
Okay.
and specifically his article "The Mystery of the Cross and Deep Alchemy."
Right.
And just a heads up, this is just one perspective. Obviously, this is a huge topic.
Right.
But what I found so interesting about Elias's work is that he makes you think differently about suffering
Oh,
and
yeah.
how we grow from
Yeah.
all the difficult things we go through in life.
That's so key, right? Because when we look at these big ideas,
Yeah.
it's not about saying this is it, this is the truth, but it's like you said,
Hmm.
it's a new way of looking at things, at our own
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah, I love that. A new lens. Okay, so Elias, he starts off with this really powerful metaphor.
Yeah.
He says, like, we're all given this raw clay, right?
Okay.
When we enter the universe, right? And it's the fire of our spirit
Ooh, I like that.
that shapes it, that molds it over our whole lifetime.
That is I mean, you can picture it, can't you? Just
Yeah.
being molded and shaped by life, the good, the bad, the ups and downs,
The whole thing.
all of it.
And it really it makes you think, like, how are we supposed to approach that sculpting process?
Right. What's the best way to, yeah.
Elias actually points to a kind of a surprising example to kind of get his point across.
Right.
The crucifixion of Jesus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, before you think we're going down like a purely religious path here,
Right.
stick with us because Elias's take on it is really it's anything but traditional.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's not advocating for suffering, right?
Well.
He actually draws this really important distinction
Okay.
between suffering and pain.
That's an interesting, okay.
And he says pain is just,
Mhm.
it's just a
Pain.
part of life. It's going to happen.
Right.
It's our resistance to the pain that actually causes suffering. And so he sees the crucifixion as this really extreme example
Of course. Yeah.
of how accepting pain, like really accepting it,
Mm-hmm.
can lead to this profound change, this transformation.
And not just, I mean, are you saying like not just for ourselves?
Yeah, not just personal transformation,
Okay.
but like a ripple effect, impacting the world around us.
Wow.
And that idea of transformation through accepting, that's really at the heart of what he calls deep alchemy. And to kind of show this, Elias focuses on this one moment in the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus says,
Oh, right.
"Not my will, but yours be done."
Yeah. Powerful.
Right.
Well.
He's facing unimaginable pain, but there's this like radical acceptance there. And
Yeah.
that's where Elias is saying, like, that's where the real alchemy, that's where it begins.
Wow. What do you think about that?
It makes me think about, like when I've been through a tough time, a challenge, and we all have, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How did I respond to that? Did I fight it? Did I try to resist it?
Right. Or just like, yeah.
Or did I find a way to just accept it or even embrace it?
Hmm.
And Elias is using this example, with Jesus as this really extreme example.
Right.
But I think it applies to all of us in our own lives in different ways to show the power of acceptance even when things are really, really difficult.
Yeah. And he doesn't stop there, does he?
No, he doesn't stop there. He goes on to talk about another example that's even more like intense. Have you heard of Padre Pio?
Oh, yeah. The stigmata.
Yeah, the mystic who
Right.
experienced the stigmata, the actual wounds.
Right. Mirroring Christ's crucifixion.
Yeah, for decades.
For decades. Wow.
And so before you think like, okay, this is getting a little too out there for me.
Right. Right.
Remember the point isn't to like go out and seek suffering.
Right.
It's about how we relate to the pain that's already present in
Oh.
our everyday lives.
I see that.
Elias is using Padre Pio as an example of someone who, even with this incredible physical pain, found a way to choose acceptance.
Right.
And by doing that, by accepting, Elias thinks that Padre Pio opened himself up to a level of transformation that most people, like, never experience.
Wow. So it's not about the pain itself.
Right.
It's how we relate to it.
Right. Exactly. And that's the key takeaway here. Deep alchemy is not about, going out and looking for pain, looking for suffering. It's about recognizing that pain is a part of life. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's actually our resistance to it that causes us to suffer.
That's a real mind shift.
It is. It's huge. Acceptance, the way Elias sees it, isn't about, like, giving up or, resigning yourself to a bad situation. It's about finding a way to say yes to what is.
To what is, yeah.
Even if it's really difficult. And in that yes, that's where we open up to the potential for incredible growth.
That's really something.
Yeah. So we're talking about this idea of accepting pain as this catalyst for growth, for transformation. But how does that actually work, in our everyday lives? Is Elias saying we should all, go out and get stigmata or something?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's something a lot of people probably wonder about when they hear this.
Yeah.
Because it's like, wait, am I supposed to go looking for more pain?
Right.
And to be really clear, that's not what Elias is saying at all.
Okay.
It's not about seeking out suffering or pain.
All right.
Remember that metaphor we talked about with the clay?
Right, the raw clay.
We got the clay.
Yeah.
It's more about how we react to that molding process, to that sculptor's hand. Suffering, according to Elias, that comes from resisting that process.
Okay.
Acceptance is about,
like surrendering to it.
Yeah, surrendering to what, even when it's tough, even when it's painful, even if it's something that, if we had our way, we would never choose.
Right. Yeah. I get that, but it still feels a little, I don't know, passive maybe.
I can see that.
Like we're just supposed to lie down and just take whatever life throws at us.
Right. No, and I think that's a common misconception about acceptance.
Yeah.
It's not passive at all.
Okay.
It's actually a really, really active choice.
Oh, interesting.
That we're making in each moment.
Okay.
It takes a lot of strength to really face our experiences head on, to acknowledge them, to not look away,
right,
and then to choose how we respond. And that choice, that's where the real power is. Because think about it, it takes a lot more courage to choose acceptance when you're in pain than it does to just, run away or numb ourselves.
Yeah. Right.
Or pretend it's not happening.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. When you put it that way, it really makes me think about how much energy we spend.
So much energy.
Just trying to avoid pain.
Right.
Instead of, like you said, finding a way to be with it.
Yeah, to be present with it.
But what about our sense of self in all of this? Are we just supposed to, I don't know, erase our egos, become these perfectly accepting beings?
Well, that's actually what I think is so fascinating about Elias's perspective.
Okay.
Because he says that no, our egos are not something to be
got it,
eradicated or extinguished, but actually to be refined. And ultimately, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Okay.
Offered back to something greater than ourselves.
Offered back. What does that even mean, practically speaking?
Yeah. No, it's a powerful image, right? And I think it kind of challenges some of the typical ideas we have about spirituality.
Yeah.
Because Elias isn't saying get rid of the ego, destroy the ego.
Right.
He's saying it's about the evolution of the ego.
Oh, interesting.
It's like we're taking all the lessons that we've learned, all the ways that we've been molded and shaped by those experiences, all the refining that's happened through deep alchemy.
Yeah.
And we're using that to become something more.
Wow.
Something that serves a greater purpose than just, our own individual needs.
Okay, so it's not about getting rid of our egos, but transforming them.
Yes,
through this process of deep alchemy.
And Elias actually even presents it as this equation.
Okay.
Pain plus acceptance equals personal transformation.
An equation. I kind of love that.
It's very, very simple, but it's kind of a helpful way to think about it.
Yeah, it is.
Because it really gets at that idea that, our egos are kind of like this gold that needs to be refined in the fires of our experiences.
Right. And that process of refinement, that's gonna involve some heat.
Yeah.
Some pressure.
Some discomfort. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm feeling a little toasted just thinking about it, honestly. But seriously, where does this leave us? What's the takeaway for someone listening to this who, who's not exactly facing crucifixion level challenges?
Right.
How does this deep alchemy thing, how does it show up in everyday life?
Well, and I think that's what's so amazing about it.
Yeah.
Is that it doesn't require those extraordinary circumstances to be relevant. Elias is giving us this framework to understand any experience, no matter how big or small. He's asking that question. Remember,
Yeah.
if suffering comes from resisting, what areas of your own life might actually benefit from a little more acceptance? Right? It's something to think about.
It's like he's saying, look at all those little ways,
Yeah.
Those little ways that we resist things, life in general.
Right, like those daily frustrations, those little disappointments, those things that just bug us.
Yeah, exactly.
What if instead of getting so annoyed by those things, we saw them as, I don't know, as chances to grow, to learn?
Yeah, instead of roadblocks, they're like
Exactly.
opportunities.
Yeah, or even, remember the clay? They're like the raw materials that we can use
Oh, I see what you're saying.
to create something.
It's a real shift in perspective.
It is. It's big.
I know. I can definitely relate to that. Like,
Yeah.
I waste so much energy just resisting things that I can't even control instead of just being like, okay, this is happening.
It's so true. And then what happens? We just end up more frustrated and more drained.
Yeah.
But if we can, if we can shift that, if we can say, okay, I'm going to accept this, I'm going to work with it,
Then what?
then we might actually learn something, We
Yeah.
might discover something about ourselves in the process.
Yeah, like some hidden strength or
Or give them-
resilience or even
Or even, like you said, that capacity for love and compassion that we might not even know is there.
it's like we have to go through the tough stuff to really find out what we're made of.
It's that idea of like walking through the fire to find the gold within.
Yes. Deep alchemy. I love it.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired to embrace a little more of that in my own life.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe I'll trade in my beaker for a pottery wheel.
There you go.
I love it. Well, hey, thanks for diving deep with us today.
Absolutely. It's been great exploring this with you.
And to everyone listening, we hope this deep dive into deep alchemy has sparked something in you.
Giving you some things to think about, some new ways to approach those inevitable challenges that life throws our way.
Because remember, the next time things get a little heated, you have a choice.
You can choose to resist and suffer, or you can choose to accept and transform.
The alchemy, it's in your hands.
It really is.
Until next time, everyone, may your experiences, no matter how tough they get, lead you to your own unique form of gold.